Welcome back to Sooner Soundwaves for episode 2. We're back. We appreciate all the followers, all the listeners. Please share. Please click the follow button. I'm Iceberg. Alongside me is St. Pablo.
Boomer!
And the good fella.
Sooner!
All right. Week 1 is in the books. OU coming out 1-0. Today we're going to talk about the Temple game, looking back. Then we'll move forward to previewing Houston, which will be the week 2 opponent. And then again, we'll finish with our locks of the week. So OU versus Temple, Goodfella, St. Pablo, both you guys were in person. Let's hear your thoughts on the Sooners.
I'll jump right on in there. First off, I thought the Friday night game just lethargic. It was one of those deals to where it reminded me of just waking up on Christmas Eve. You know, you got Christmas Eve and Christmas the next day. I felt like the atmosphere on a Friday night, having that first NCAA game come on, it was under the lights. Fans was there. I believe it was almost a packed house, pretty close to it. Tailgating started out at 1 o'clock. So I felt like just the atmosphere alone was pretty solid in Norman on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. The atmosphere was great. You could tell that everyone was really excited for the start of the season. I thought for such a kind of a Temple not being a very good football team that there was a lot more people there than really I had anticipated. So, yeah, great atmosphere. I love the Toby Keith tribute. That was actually very moving. I thought they did a fantastic job with that, and so that was really special.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to being able to see that in person. Coming in, a lot of hype. I believe that OU canceled school on Friday, upped their tailgating game, which is fantastic. They're ready for the SEC. And Temple comes to town. 51-3, covered the spread. What are your thoughts on the offense?
Let me jump in and talk about we'll get some glows first. First off, I felt like our receiving crew was solid. We got some injuries. I think Farouk out for the foot injury is going to be impactful as we look into – they're thinking 6 to 8 weeks, could be longer. But I think missing him with the injury is going to be tough. Burks, he is the man. We have to give him the ball as much as possible. He had 6 receptions, 3 touchdowns. Even though it's Temple, he has to get open. So I think he did a lot for us just coming in. Interior line, I think something that we have to work on. I think our line flat out didn't play well. We look at our rushing yards. I think it impacted us passing and rushing. We got to get some guys to step up and get some blocks, put some people in their butts. We didn't do that. So I'm nervous about what our line is going to look like as we develop, but they got to figure out something to get those hauls up front, to move people off the line and make some separation in regards to our running game and our passing game.
I kind of been out of the loop on this. So Casey Thompson was like the, backup in my mind, and all I had really heard, and then you have Jackson Arnold. Sorry.
Jackson Arnold.
He's that guy, the QB1.
QB1.
He's leading it out, and I didn't, with the whole, I got distracted by Gabriel headed to Oregon. I thought I was a little nervous about that. It kind of felt like he was pushed out a bit, maybe to some level, just weird. And then all of a sudden I'm headed down there. I'm listening to the Sports Animal. There's a shout out for the Sports Animal. And they talked about there's a bit of a controversy, quarterback controversy. And I was like, what are we talking about? And this Michael Hawkins kid comes in, and he is explosive and unbelievable. And I don't know. What did you guys think about Michael Hawkins?
I feel like we've got a lot of depth at the quarterback position, and I think that's why you're seeing Seth Luttrell run the quarterback a little bit more. If you can come in with a kid like Hawkins, who I believe is a freshman, and then your third string is a Casey Thompson, who's I guess you would call him a veteran. I can remember, what was it, 3 years ago? He was the starting quarterback for Texas when Caleb Williams came back for the Sooners there. So I like the quarterback room being deep, and I think that it's going to be interesting to see if Luttrell, as the offensive coordinator, decides to put in some packages for Hawkins, or if he stays back as a second string quarterback. But love to see the run game. Also love to see the utilization of the tight end. I feel like in recent years, previously, historically, I guess, with Jeff Levy, we had some quality tight ends that really didn't use them a whole lot. But we saw Bauer Sharp, who ended up being the receiving yards leader for the game, with 5 receptions and 47 yards and the opening touchdown of the game. So that was very nice to see. I want to go back a little bit to the Goodfellas offensive line. Looking back at the game, you lose your center in the opening series, right? I know everybody has to know every position, and I think more and more in this day and age, offensive coordinators are allowing their O linemen to jump around a little bit and move people in different positions. But I'm not going to use that as an excuse. But I did, in reading some of the articles after the game, there was a lot of movement after that. Shouldn't matter against Temple, but guys, we knew coming in our weakness this year was going to be the O-line. We've got a lot of work to do, and hopefully now that we actually have a real-time game on film, that we can dissect it and look and see and kind of teach these guys up and hopefully get them moving people a lot better, as the good fellow mentioned.
Yeah. You talked about Hawkins and putting in some packages. Man, I would like to see more him on the field at times, especially when we talk about goal line, the threat that he could cause in regards to some RPOs or some option plays or dump passes with the tight end. He's fast. I don't know how it looks on film, but in person, he's a fast kid, and he did some things on Friday that I felt like surprised. I know some of the ones that hadn't seen him a lot surprised him. So I'm excited to see what he does for us as we go into week 2 against Houston.
Yeah, sticking with the offense here. Running back by committee again from DeMarco Murray. I think we saw 4 or 5, maybe even 6 guys carry the ball. The Tatum kid was really, really impressive for me.
Stand out.
And even the I'm struggling with his name.
Sharp.
The guy from the Tennessee Martin or whatever, the transfer. Gosh, what is his name?
Sam Franklin?
No. I'm gonna anyway. But yeah, lost Farouk. Didn't have Anderson. Still had some depth at the wide receiver position. Also had 4 drops. The Hester kid at wide receiver had 2 drops, both of them being about 20-yard gains. Brennan Thompson had 1 drop, and I do believe Andrell Anthony had another drop. So you take 4 drops away from Jackson Arnold. I know the output of 141 yards is low, but also you couple that with 6 turnovers on the defense, and the time of possession was in favor of Temple as well. So growing game, I hope.
Sure, it was a short field, a lot of times. I think they were 3 for 3 on 4th down on the offense. And, you bring up great points, with the injury on the line and early on and the shifting around. I think the thing, though, that stood out to a lot of people at the game was that he didn't look comfortable, though, in the pocket when he did have time, and he held the ball, in my opinion, too long. It looked a lot like the bowl game, and you'd hope to have seen more improvement. Get rid of the ball, quit dancing with the feet, nerves, all of that. I mean, I get it, and he made some excellent passes too. I'm not criticizing the guy. I think he did a great job. There was some just fantastic passes that took place, and he's got some speed and toughness. But I don't know. I was a little surprised though when you have to go fourth down 3 times to move the ball and then get in scoring position.
1 for 12 for third down. That's abysmal.
But it goes to show, go back to what Milo was, St. Pablo was talking about with just making decisions. I thought, there's a lot of RPOs that he just didn't make fast decisions. He just, for some reason, I'm not sure if he was just overthinking it, what he saw out there, but he just didn't make quick enough decisions to where he can get the ball out or even hand the ball off when needed. Gavin Sawchuk, I thought, I felt like coming in, he would be the star of the game, and he went to sleep. With 6 carries for 15 yards, unacceptable. I mean, that's hard to even to explain with him coming in as the lead running back for the Sooners, and to get 15 yards on Temple, that's just tough. Like, you should get 15 yards. I'm sorry.
That may be the biggest surprise.
Yeah.
Honestly, that they walking away from that when I saw his stats, out of all of it, that to me, it being that low was like the biggest surprise. I thought he'd have a better night.
Yeah, I agree. And running back to what I said, it was Sam Franklin who I was thinking of, good fellow. So I appreciate you bringing that up. Let's flip it over to the defense, guys. I mean, gosh, just completely dominant in my opinion. However, I will say, with our linebacking crew now being explosive again, like it was back in the early 2000s, I tend to focus there, and my peripherals see the defensive line and the secondary. I really felt like Stutzman wasn't attacking as much as he does usually. I feel like he was bouncing a little bit more than usually instead of attacking, but he still led the team in tackles. A phenomenal game for the defense, just as expected, and hope they can continue and stay as injury-free as possible.
Yeah, I felt like Stutzman, I think having him back this year is going to be like it showed yesterday on Friday, just his leadership on the team. He's out there calling and he's moving players around. I wonder if the reason why he didn't go in blitz as much is they wanted to kind of play him in coverage more. I think if we're talking about just looking ahead and him getting better at coverage, why not just keep him in coverage to see if he's able to show some growth there. We know he can go in and make a sack, make a tackle in the backfield, but his coverage game is something that I feel like not as strong as other linebackers. So if he can improve that, he's definitely, first round pick in the draft next year.
Well, depth was, if you listen to Brent's conference after the game, depth was, he said that I don't know how many times in terms of his, overall analysis of the defense. They're deep, they're rotating in and out. Stutzman, I agree with that, Iceberg, because it did seem as if you don't want him injured in this game, and that attack mode, coming in, it wasn't there as much, even though he was still dominant, in leading in tackles. But yeah, the depth of the defense is amazing, and they're certainly going to need it if the offense continues to struggle. So, but yeah, overall though, what did we have? 6 turnovers? Was it 6 or 7?
Yeah, the turnovers.
Yeah.
6 turnovers. So just an amazing night for the defense.
And how about a kicker?
Man,
Houston, we have a kicker. No pun intended.
We could not be happier.
Yeah,
So
well, he was
far.
3 for 3, 6 for 6 on extra points. Long was 50 yards. I mean, that's solid, man.
Yes.
That's solid.
Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. So we win. I don't want to say escape. 51-3. Convincing fashion over the subpar Temple Owls team. Moving on to week 2, we have the Houston Cougars. Let's talk about Houston. Week 1, they drop a home game to UNLV, 27-7, and now they'll be coming into Norman to battle against a hungry, newly bred SEC team in the Oklahoma Sooners. What are our thoughts on the Houston game?
Well, I don't know if it'll be as different in a look than what we just got from Temple. Maybe a little bit more, being as it'll be an away game and not a home game for us. I was trying to go back and think about the last time we played Houston. I think we won by 10, and then the time before that, they beat us in Norman. But that's not the same team. This is a different Houston team, obviously. They are developing. They lost their coach last year. So new coach taking over. I think there's probably just some adjustments that need to be made, and it won't happen week 2 for us. So I don't know in regards to how they'll look. I think it'll just be a little bit better team than Temple, but I'm expecting the same dominance from our defense, especially going into Houston. Offensively, again, I think our line has work to do, but I think our defense will allow us to go down there and pull away with the victory and cover the spread too. I think we'll cover the spread as well.
So it is a home game in Norman.
I'm sorry, home game. I'm thinking about yes. Sorry.
Yeah, the Cougars are coming in. What's amazing is that the Cougars will face I would imagine, a much more challenging defense than the UNLV Rebels. And the Cougars were held to 7 points. In fact, they scored their single touchdown in the fourth quarter against UNLV.
Yeah.
Woo.
Wow. I wasn't aware of that. Coach is Willie Fritz, hometown Shawnee Mission, Kansas.
Yeah, for sure.
Formerly from Tulane. So I think everybody remembers the game a couple years ago when Tulane came into Norman after the hurricane and gave us everything we wanted.
Yeah.
Well, what do you want to see? I mean, you want to see better O-line play, quarterback play against Houston. I mean, development from week 1 to week 2. If you're Brent Venables talking to these, your offense, because your defense seems deep and ready to rock and roll. What kind of development are you needing to see in week 2 in 1 week time?
Well, I think you got to stay consistent again with no turnovers. I think that's something that we failed to mention. We didn't have any turnovers.
Yeah.
And I think we have to limit the sacks and see if we can increase the running game. I think, when you have a good running game, it relieves pressure off of your passing game. So maybe if we can get the running game going against a defense like Houston, and then get Jackson Arnold a little bit more comfortable. I think that's what I would want to see is we've got to shore things up front. We got to find I haven't heard anything about the center yet, but we've got to find some folks and some dogs up there that want to move some people and see what that looks like and see if we can get a running game going. And I don't dislike the running back by committee. I would like to see it a little bit less, as much as we didn't necessarily like the way that DeMarco Murray did it. I think it was last year where he would have 2 running backs per game and then a different 2 running backs the next game. I think that allows a better rhythm than rotating in 5 or 6. So I would like to see the running game cleaned up and turnovers to remain at 0.
Yeah, I'd agree with all of that, especially the running game. Talk about just getting guys being consistent. I think last year with the combination of two different backs, I felt like it was hard for the line to adjust based on who's back there. And then, you go week 1 and you rotate in, 5 different backs. That's tough to accommodate for because it's chemistry in regards to, the backs and how they run and what you can anticipate if you're blocking. With having so many, it's just kind of hard to adjust as a lineman, in my opinion. But again, I don't know.
Donovan Smith, the quarterback for the Houston Cougars, had 2 interceptions in his first outing with UNLV, and he is turnover prone. But when he's on, he's on.
You have a fumble too, or was it just 2 interceptions?
I thought I saw 2 interceptions earlier, but this is if OU continues the momentum, 6 turnovers. I don't care who you're playing. That's impressive. I mean, they are. That was a great outing by the defense, and he's going to have to be really on in that game to against the Sooners and not turn the ball over, or it could be an easy covering of that spread for OU, which it's up to 28.5 now.
Yeah, he had a fumble too, so he was.
Oh, okay.
He had two interceptions and a fumble.
Oh,
and he was sacked a lot. He had 12 rushes for a negative 24 yards. So,
oh boy, it could be a long night, long ride back to Houston, maybe. So 52-yard field goal, that was one of the longest. I'd read something. It's been quite a while since we've had a Sooner kicker drill a 52-yarder in a game. I wish I had that stat in front of me, but
yeah, that would be a nice stat. I don't remember the last time we had a kicker that, I don't know, Burkitt could kick.
Yeah, he was definitely accurate.
Gosh, 1.5 yards per rush for Houston against UNLV. 26 attempts. That's not great. 38 total yards rushing. Meanwhile, and here's the deal, guys. This is a confidence booster for me. UNLV had 200 yards rushing. So maybe this is where we get the ground game going. Maybe this is where we get some confidence. We get some O linemen in there knowing what they're supposed to do.
But, in episode 1, you were talking about the ESPN FBI. After game 1 and watching, all of week 1 or as much as you can or heard, what all's changed, or has anything changed for you looking at our schedule moving down? I mean, for me, the Tennessee game, Tennessee looks really good.
Yeah, I didn't catch them, but that was at 60%. You thinking that should go down? I think we were surprised at 60% anyway.
We were, and man, I'm telling you, Tennessee, I think that one's a toss-up.
I didn't catch that game, Tennessee game. So
just the highlights. Their quarterback really played well.
Who did Tennessee play?
It was a nobody, kind of like who we play.
Okay. Tennessee played. Let's see, pull it up real quick.
It wasn't anything special, out of week 1, but I mean, their offense was explosive.
Chattanooga.
Yeah.
I don't even
69-3.
That's in Tennessee.
Yeah, that's tough to gauge. But yeah, it does look like there was a ton of ton of points scored.
Well, a vanilla
414 yards passing, 10 yards per pass. Wow.
A vanilla offense, is what they kept talking about for OU, and that was kind of the talk all night. They're not going to open it up. You're not going to show your hand early. And I don't know how that talking point helps or hurts. I mean, to me, it's like, okay, yeah, you're not going to do a whole lot and, whatever. So you're just dependent upon sheer strength versus, an inferior Temple team. Vanilla offense, it didn't produce to be, very strong against the Temple team.
I agree.
I agree as well. I think, they were talking about vanilla offense, but we're just talking about just domination, even against Temple. There was none of that offensively. So even though we didn't show much, what we showed, we still didn't dominate in that regards either.
Other than Burks, like you said.
Other than Burks, he's solid.
He was fun to watch. He was fun to watch for sure. It'll be interesting when we get Nick Anderson back too, to go alongside Burks and then throw Andrell Anthony in there, and then the Brennan Thompson kid. He had a couple drops too. He's supposedly really fast, but what kind of bothered me about him is he had two digs across the middle that were for third down, and on both of them he ran his route about 1.5 yards short of the first down marker.
Bothered me a lot. Like no spacing or understanding of with the marker
where you got to get to.
That was tough to see.
Then the one he caught in the middle, if he would have went north to the end zone, there was a big old hole, but instead he kept running, and there were other people waiting for him over there. So, I don't think the FPI percentage much has changed yet, except, looking at what Houston did in game one, I would probably move them up from 92 to closer to 97 or 98%. But anywhere further down than that, it's hard to say. Texas probably proved why their percentages are where they are. And I don't think this week is a test for Texas. I really don't. I think Michigan's overrated. I think Michigan's got a lot of problems, even though it is in Ann Arbor. I was not impressed with Michigan whatsoever.
Agree. And going in, Texas, so you always go back to that, and I think that's great because 5-0, they will come marching in 5-0, and they will be. It's going to be health for them, in my opinion. How healthy? And unfortunately, the Temple game, we took some serious injuries, guys. I mean, that is not what you want out of week one.
No,
I would agree.
Yeah.
And so, but nonetheless, I'm never going to give the, the orange body lotion of Sarkisian and Matthew McConaughey rub downs prior to that any credit.
I'm not sure where that was going.
All right. Maybe we should move on to the locks of the week.
Orange. They take that serious down there in Texas.
They do. Texas is fighting. They're fighting strong right now. They are.
They're back. I mean, no, they're not back. They're not back because being back is just being mediocre. They are a force this year.
They snuck into the playoff, in my opinion, last year, and their heads are high. And we'll see what happens.
I don't even want to talk about that team right now. But,
Okay, I do have this is a total off-topic question, sort of. It's still on Sooner football. But it goes for – I thought this was good that you guys like it. I heard it on First Take this morning. Who's the better coach, Lane Kiffin or Lincoln Riley?
What do you – like just overall, or are we talking about a position?
I'd probably have to say Lincoln Riley.
Yeah,
I would too. I hate to admit that.
They looked pretty good last night, and pretty good with a lot of people. There's a lot of negativity surrounding the USC program with the amount of people they lost. But they've got some quality opponents, and I mean I think LSU's above average, but I wasn't impressed necessarily with LSU. They're big and strong, but I didn't necessarily. I never saw that they were that much better than USC like I really thought they would be.
Yeah. I thought defensively they'll play better, but they never did. And I knew USC would come in with a strong offensive presence. And you really have to play some really good defense with how Lincoln Riley runs his program with his schemes and being able to outthink coaches at times. I felt like he outcoached LSU yesterday. So gotta win that 2-minute warning. You gotta win that 2-minute plays. So
yeah.
So it's unanimous. Lincoln Riley is better coach than Lane Kiffin.
Yeah. Lane Kiffin's a clown. Anyway, moving on. Let's talk about our locks of the week. Let's recap our locks of the week. I believe last week I had Georgia at 13.5 over Clemson. I got to be honest. I checked the score at halftime and thought, holy smokes. I think it was either 6-0 or 3-0. I didn't really think it was going to work out in my favor, but then Georgia comes screaming back and gets the 13.5 plus some against Clemson. I think that's another hot seat, guys. Dabo Swinney is hanging on by the strings. Wanted to stay as traditional as possible and not go to the portal and do all those things, but he's getting beat on paper now, in my opinion. Not even until he gets to the field. So got a 1-0 for me. How about you guys?
Well, you are 100% correct. I mean, everything you said last week. I mean, and it was a gimme kind of game, but at the same time, I think everything you had said about Dabo Swinney and his approach in this day and age, after that game and getting destroyed, that guy's getting destroyed online. I mean, it just the floodgates open on him in terms of his tenure. No matter what's crazy is all the success too that he's done, but when he's stonewalled that hard right now and in the approach, resistance to change in college football. I mean, you called that one right on. So give it up to the iceberg. And now I have to give it up though to the good fella, Dadgummit, OSU.
Yeah, I picked OSU to cover. And like I said, I think they had to have a good showing, at least a decent one, going into the Big 12. Should be one of the best teams in the Big 12. And beating San Diego State, I mean, they had to cover. If they didn't cover, they'll be in trouble. So they covered, and I felt good about them covering. Right? South Dakota.
I didn't know if you said San Diego. Sorry.
South Dakota State. They are the Jackrabbits or something like that.
There.
Yeah.
But I give it up, man. I bought into. It was wishful thinking. I was hoping so desperately for a week 1 upset in Stillwater, but they didn't. They're ready.
Pulled it out.
I think they'll win the Big 12.
St. Pablo, what was your pick?
Well, we kind of recapped it. I totally dropped the ball, went with an emotional pick, rooting against Lincoln Riley. I thought, come on, Tigers, rip them apart, put them on the hot seat. Actually, I'm losing on 2 fronts on this because I've got to bet that I thought Lincoln would be done after this season. And he has not stopped the talk. He's quieted it for 1 week. We know Lincoln Riley better than Southern California. They're getting to know him a little bit. He will drop some games that he shouldn't. But I thought he coached well. I thought it was Miller Moss has proven to be now a really good quarterback. He looked comfortable in the pocket, confident. He's got an arm. The offense, I'll tell you one thing that I hope that our coaches are watching from, because I know Lincoln Riley does set the trend in offense. He had a wrinkle in the run game that I haven't seen before, and I didn't see it at OU. They were able to run the ball on LSU, and a couple of times in the red zone, just putting it in. And I don't know, I'm not a football expert or analyst here, but I'm not real sure what all he was doing in the run game to be that strong in the interior. But I never saw that when he was at the University of Oklahoma. It was more around the edges. It was the little drops here and there, misdirections, all this. But it almost looked like a power football type of team from USC to do that to LSU's front line. So, but anyways, I was wrong. I am 0-1, and it's a great way to start this year.
Yeah.
All right, let's flip it around then. St. Pablo, let's talk about your lock of the week for this week.
Gonna go with Tennessee. I mean, I didn't watch the game. I saw the highlights on ESPN. I've seen the stats. I think Tennessee is playing North Carolina State. And I don't think North Carolina State looked dominant in their game, and I forget who they played now. But at the same time, I know they're a ranked team, ranked opponent. I actually think Tennessee is going there. But, man, there looks like some explosiveness in Tennessee. The Volunteers are back. I'm taking them to cover the 7.5.
All right. Good fellow. What's your lock of the week?
I'm gonna flat out say it. I do not like Nebraska. This could be an emotional pick as well for me. But I have Colorado, even though they're not strong offensive line or defensive line. I just feel like they're going to go in there and cover the 6.5 against Nebraska at Nebraska.
That's a interesting pick there. You know, I did catch some of the Nebraska game, and Nebraska looked a lot better than they've looked in a long time. But, you know, Colorado looked pretty good too. I will say that their skill players are probably some of the best skill players in the nation. But you're right in the fact that up front, I think they're lacking a little bit. So that one will be interesting. So you're going Colorado plus 6.5 against Nebraska.
That's where I'm going.
You know, right. The crazy thing about your pick is that Colorado, you know, and you never know what they'll do. I mean, they could go in there and completely dominate that game.
Yeah.
They're so unpredictable.
Yep. All right. For the iceberg, my lock of the week is Texas over Michigan with the 6.5. I was not impressed with Michigan, as we've said a few times on here, and I was impressed with Texas. I really feel like Texas has got a full head of steam going up to Ann Arbor. You know, Michigan played a few different quarterbacks with a few different packages, and they just looked uncomfortable. So I really feel like Texas is going to go up there and probably win by double digits, in my opinion, if I had to put a spread on it. But I'll take the 6.5 for that one.
That's solid. Solid pick. Yeah, I think I don't know. I don't want to say anything about Texas right now, but
yeah, you should say as much as you want about Texas. But I mean, I think you're right. They look really good right now.
They do. They got two good quarterbacks, and they
got talent everywhere.
So last bit here, and then we'll sign off. But I wanted to also, hopefully, can you guys see the top 25 here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we got the top 25. When I look at this in week 1, everybody went 1-0 except until you get down to number 13 and number 14, which is LSU and Clemson. So I look for those two to drop down pretty low and the others just to step right on up. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. I think there should be a change, going into week 2, especially with the LSU and Clemson losing. I wouldn't be surprised to see Tennessee and OU jump up a little bit. So, if anything, Tennessee for sure, and we'll see where OU falls.
Well, I think I saw somewhere where OU was 13.
Did it already come out?
I think so. I saw somewhere. OU. Maybe I'm imagining it, but Florida State was overrated. I mean, they should have. I didn't agree with that ranking. OU being 16. I'll be honest with you. That to me was an appropriate preseason ranking. I know these preseason rankings are what they are, but Notre Dame really surprised me. Going on the road, the SEC, I don't know what the record is of the SEC right now coming out in week 1. I haven't looked at it, but you had the Aggies go down at home. You have LSU go down at a neutral site. I can't imagine. Now, there was some record-breaking offense. I saw there was some record-breaking offense production out of the SEC from the top-tier teams. That certainly wasn't – we didn't contribute to that. But yeah, I don't know.
So I went and looked. I don't see an updated AP poll yet. And it's probably because the game just happened yesterday, and Florida State plays tomorrow.
Yeah,
so they'll probably release it Tuesday.
I'm not sure where I saw it. I don't know if it's on First Take this morning when I was watching it or not. But I thought I saw something where OU was 13, which that seems like that would be appropriate. I mean, they're going to move up because you've got a couple moving out, but and I think they had Tennessee at 12. Which what is Tennessee right now on that list that you had?
15.
So yeah, okay, 15, 16 for Tennessee, and I just feel after watching the two highlights, being at one game and watching the highlight of the other, to me there seems like there's much more separation than one spot.
Sure.
But I hope the Sooners prove me wrong. It's our house.
I agree.
Now, Joseph, then Mary, the good fella. Did the Sooners have a video that said something to the effect of "we're back" on their intro video? Because I thought there was an intro video that said something like under Brent Venables, "we're back this year," and I almost dropped my beverage.
I don't know. I don't know if I recall seeing that. I was actually at the time getting my son situated with his burger, so I don't know.
I mean, they're back for another year. It's not like Texas is back talk.
That's where I don't want it to head.
Yeah.
This is a growing year in my opinion. Yeah, but they're back, and I think overall they'll be better this year. The record might not reflect it just due to the strength of schedule, in my opinion. But I think every year that we've seen some improvement from the team as a collective under Brent Venables, and it's been exciting to see.
Yeah, I think this will be a year to where we lean on our defense more than we've had in the past. So we'll see.
I agree. All right. Well, that is episode 2. Looking forward to OU versus Houston on Saturday in Norman. We'll be back next week with episode 3. Again, we appreciate you guys listening. Please share with your friends. Click the follow button, and we'll see you guys next week. Boomer.
Sooner
Joseph Mary and
key the music. St. Pablo, key the music.
It is cute, and we are having technical difficulties here. So I'm going. Oh, that's because
we'll just cut it.
We'll just cut it. Bring in the boom.